you know, where we were 2 weeks ago. We were in Mark and we were looking at Peter. Peter had said that he would go to die with Jesus. Hey, I'll stand with you no matter what. I'll be there to the last very thing. And Jesus said, Peter, tonight before the rooster crows, you will deny me 3 times. And so we were there, and we kind of went from one spot when that happened with Jesus, and he was telling that, and then we went to the denial. And tonight we're going to look in between there. Okay, we're going to look between there, and it's actually kind of cool. If you think about it, Peter goes from saying, "Hey, I'm going to die with you, Jesus. I'll die for you. I'll never forsake you. I'm right here by your side. I'm with you." And then he goes to the point where he goes to deny him 3 times, not just once, not twice. In fact, for the last time it says he starts cussing and hollering and screaming that, "Hey, I don't even know this guy." And so I kind of wonder, if that can happen to Peter, can that happen to any of us? Now tonight we're going to look at where Peter's stance is, where he's standing physically in relationship to our spiritual walk. Okay, we talked about that this morning. So let's jump right into it. This is actually 20 weeks into the book of Mark, and we're going to look at Mark chapter 14, verses 43 through 50. Oh, there's my scripture. I don't want to forget that. I found myself, Red, I don't turn on the radio anymore. Even though what I do, it's on Air One or the River or something like that. But I've started memorizing my scripture when I was doing it. All right, 43 through 50. 43 through 50. Mark chapter 14, 43 through 50. Immediately while he was still speaking, when he was still speaking, he was talking to him about waking up and hey, can't you even just pray? Immediately while he was still speaking, Judas, one of the 12, came up accompanied by a crowd with swords and clubs, who were from the chief priests and the scribes and the elders. Okay? So they're coming after Jesus with clubs and swords. Now, he who was betraying him had given him a signal saying, "Whomever I kiss, he's the one, seize him, and lead him away under guard." After coming, Judas immediately went to him saying, "Rabbi," and kissed him. They laid hands on him and seized him. But one of those who stood by drew his sword and struck the slave of the high priest and cut off his ear. Now we know that was Peter. Okay, Peter drew the sword and cut off the high priest's servant's ear. And we also know that Jesus put the ear back on and healed him right there. So we're up to verse 47. Now we're going to 48. And Jesus said to them, "Have you come out with swords and clubs to arrest me as you would against a robber? Every day I was with you in the temple teaching, and you did not seize me, but this has taken place to fulfill the scriptures." And they all left him and fled. Let's pray. Father God, I come to you right now. Just thank you so much for your word. God speaks to us. And God, how we can look at something that Peter, who you nicknamed Petra, rock, Father, that God, even someone who says, "I'm going to stand with Jesus," at time has fright. At time means courage. But Father, he didn't stay far away. He returned and ended up being an awesome soul winner for you. So, Father, we want to look at our lives tonight as we look at Peter's and just see where we need to work on, some things we need to improve in. So, Father, we love you and we thank you. We ask all in Jesus' name. Amen. All right. So, first of all, let's start off looking here. Judas comes up and gives Jesus a kiss on the cheek, and we can see right there at that moment that Peter was still that, "Hey, I'm the guy that's going to stand beside you. I'm the guy that's going to be right there. I'm ready to go into battle. You're going to be the king, and hey, we're right there." And he pulls out a sword, cuts off the ear of the high priest's servant. And so he was backing up while he's standing. He was like that Christian, like, hey, I'm not, when things get tough and I get confronted, I'm going to stand my ground. So he does that. And Jesus, it's funny, as you look at that, while Jesus being arrested, he gives him to walk forward. You know, he gives him to walk forward like, hey, in fact, if you read other accounts of that, it's almost, when you read that, Jesus is going to them. He says, who are you looking for? And they said, Jesus from Nazareth. And he says, well, I'm him. And they actually all fall down. You need to read that in the other Gospels. But anyway, he gives them the walk forward while he's being arrested. Mark writes down the walk forward. Hey, listen to me. Why are you arresting me at night for? I was in the temple that you claimed to run, and I was in there teaching, and you had every opportunity to arrest me. But now you come to me like a robber at nighttime with clubs and swords. You got to arrest me like in the darkness, like I'm a thief, an everyday thief. Why didn't you arrest me when I was doing what you're really arresting me for? And so they arrest him and they take him away. But look at verse 50 there, just for a second. I'll throw verse 50 up there for me. Look at verse 50 just for a moment. Where is everybody? What's it say? They all fled. And they all left him. Fled. I just thought about this just now. Jesus being 100% man and 100% God. Still had emotions. We know that because when he was approaching the tomb of Lazarus, he wept. Where is everybody? Where's the 12 disciples? Or 11? Where's the 11 disciples? He spent the last 3 years with them. Where's the inner three? You know, Peter, James, and John. Where's the inner three? Where's Peter? I mean, just a few minutes ago, he's saying, hey, I'm with you, Jesus, no matter what. I can't imagine how alone he must have felt at that moment. Everybody? Look at verse 49. Look at verse 49. Jesus talking here, he says, you know, I was with you in the temple, teaching, and you didn't see me. This has taken place to do what? Fulfill the Scriptures. You know, there is no proof that Jesus had done anything wrong. That there was no accusations that could stick against him. The only thing he did was spread kindness and love and teaching and straightened up some of the teaching that had been going on. And they arrested him like a common criminal in the night. Coming after him with clubs and swords. And Jesus says the one thing, even though you know he's feeling lonely and everybody's left, he says, this is being done to fulfill the Scriptures. Fulfill the Scriptures. Fulfill the Scriptures. All right, jump up to verse 53 through 54. 53 54. They led Jesus away to the high priest, and all the chief priests, and the elders, and the scribes gathered together. Peter had followed at a distance right to the courtyard of the high priest, and he was sitting with the officers and warming himself at the fire. So let's look at verse 53 just for a second. They led Jesus away to the high priest. Okay, so they led him to the high priest. That once a year there was a high priest that was elected, that was the priest over the temple, the worship at the time. And so they led him to him, and we know from there that also they had the chief priests, the other chief priests that were there, and the elders and the scribes had all gathered together. Sanhedrin and the Pharisees, they were all gathered there to get rid of Jesus, so they thought. Now think about this. They didn't have telephones to say, hey, we're going to get Jesus, we're going to meet in the courtyard at 3 a.m. They didn't have the telephone. They didn't have the cell phones to send out a mass text. They went to go get him. They're bringing him back. I see him coming. Or the kids nowadays, the teenagers, they got the cell phone on. There he goes, you know. They're doing it live. They didn't have the news anchor team, you know, Channel 6 or 4. Hey, we're at the Garden of Gethsemane right now. They just arrested Jesus. There he goes. Let's follow him over. I'm going to send it over to you over there in the courtyard. Please go ahead and take it away. I'm at the courtyard. They're starting to bring him in. They didn't have that. But everybody was there. They had a plan. So I started thinking about this. And you know, when I preach to you, I'm preaching to me. I can kind of understand Peter. I'm not giving him a way out. I'm not saying what he did was right. But what I'm saying is, hey, I'd probably be scared too. I mean, all this, in fact, we know it's a Roman cohort that comes after him. There's a cohort that comes after him. That's 600 men were coming after him, and they were trying to arrest Jesus. And he goes peacefully. And Jesus, Peter cuts the ear off, and Jesus says, hey, basically, if I can paraphrase, it's not the time right now. And I'm going to go peacefully, but while you're taking me, I'm going to tell you, why didn't you arrest me while I was in the temple? And so he goes away. And this big mob, and there's just 12 of you. Christians, you ever feel outnumbered? You ever feel like you're outnumbered at work? You ever feel like you're outnumbered in this world? Miss Janet was just saying, hey, this world is crazy. We feel outnumbered. I got a text yesterday from Tom Linton. He says, you know, it's scary for Christians to even travel nowadays. Anybody see the guy that got in an argument over a parking spot? And he went and shoved someone, and the guy fell to his knee and shot him, killed him over a parking spot. And the guy that shot him is okay because they have a law, I forget where it was at, but it's stand your ground law. And so he shot him from laying on the ground and killed him over a parking spot because they parked in the handicapped parking spot. What have we come to? Hey, I can kind of understand Peter being a little bit scared. But here's the thing. If we look, go on and look in verse 54. Peter had followed him at a distance. Kind of scared. Hope they don't notice me. Hope I don't get arrested too. I don't know what's going to happen to Jesus. Where are they taking him? What's going on? Do you know what the problem with, and DC talks about it a long time ago, you know what the problem with Christianity is? Christians. People who say they're Christians and they stay following Jesus from a distance. Just like Peter. Well, hey, I don't want to get too attached to you because if you go down, I'm saving my hide. So I'll be from a distance. I'll follow you. I'm with you. I'm going to say I'm a Christian. However, I'm not completely sold out. I'm not in the courtyard. Because that's where Jesus was. Jesus is in the courtyard. We know that he starts getting arrested. He's under arrest, and they start questioning him. They slap him around a little bit, and they're making fun of him, and all this stuff. And Peter's somewhere else. Where's Peter at? 5 at 5. Warming himself. He said, in fact, that the word officers actually is servants. They're with the other servants of the temple. Well, it's real nice right here, nice and warm. Christians, are we just in the warm spot? Are we in the courtyard under arrest? Are we nice and cozy, sitting back in the back? Hey, yeah, Jesus, I'll follow you from a distance. But hey, collateral damage, if you go down, I'm not going down with you. Jesus, I'm with him, might mean death. It might mean death. Well, Pastor, they're not really crucifying people anymore. They're not killing Christians. They are in other countries. In fact, there's more martyrs today than there was back in Jesus' time. What would happen? Mark, you mentioned that revival. What would happen if we actually were sold out for Christ? If we weren't afraid to go to the courtyard. If we said, all right, I'm going to make a life-changing decision right now, and I'm going to go to the courtyard to let the world know I'm in. Could you do it? Or will we stay from a distance? I will say this, though. Peter was the one following from a distance. Where's the other two? They're gone. Where's the other two? What's that tell you about our odds as Christians? If you look at the numbers, 1 out of 11 is following from a distance. And I hope and pray that we as a church have a group of people as a church body that are not afraid to stand in the courtyard and say, I'm a Christian. And I'm going to live that way. And if you're going to crucify him, crucify me. So my question tonight is this. At times, I think Christians take their Christianity for granted. Including myself. You know, when I say I'm preaching you, I'm preaching me. At times, I think Christians can take for granted the price that Jesus paid for our salvation. Like I say, we all want to go to heaven. You ask anybody, and you'll get some answers from some people who say, well, I don't believe in the heaven or the hell. You're going to just go into the grave and that's it. I hope not. Actually, I believe it's totally different because I believe God's word. But here's the deal. Are we totally committed? I know that Sunday nights I'm preaching to the church. We know, and we've looked at it before, we know that Peter slipped. And I'm going to tell you, you might slip from time to time. You might fall back and say, hey, I'm following from a distance. I'm a little scared. I'm afraid what's going to happen right now. I can imagine Peter going, boy, Jesus, how are we going to get out of this mess? And sometimes we feel like that. But that's not where Peter ended. Remember Acts chapter 2? We need some spirit-filled Christians who are guided by the Holy Spirit, who are doing what the Holy Spirit wants us to do to bring glory and honor to God. When I preach to the church, you are the backbone of the church. People are watching you. Trust me, looking at the people around here tonight, I can tell you, just from talking to other people in this church, people are watching you. I hear your names talked about. I see how people watch you. And I will tell you this. Backbone of the church, let's go to the center of the courtyard. Let's not worry about being warm by the fire. Let's go to the center of the courtyard and let's go under trial. Let's show the Ross County and Pike County, hey, we're standing up for Jesus and we're going to be in that courtyard, and you can crucify Christians. Start right here because that's where the Christians are right here. Amen. Bring it.